Video game rentals delivered to your door. gameaccess.ca.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the GamerNerdz. This is Dinx. So moving forward, things are gonna be a little bit different now. I don't know if you guys follow our Twitter account. We had a little accident in our studio, and we're gonna have to do our reviews audio only just for the time being, and maybe in the near future we'll get back to the full-on video reviews with myself and Voyce. Today I'm gonna be reviewing a Wii U game, which I know it's out of the ordinary. We haven't done a lot of this on the GamerNerdz, but there hasn't been a lot of Wii U games to review, actually. So what I'm going to be talking about today is released by none other than Shigeru Miyamoto. So if you guys obviously know Nintendo's history, he is the man who has single-handedly created, many great games, many great characters for Nintendo. Now this game is actually what he has said, and I quote, the best game he's ever made. Pikmin 3 was recently released for the Wii U, and it's been almost a decade since we've seen the original or the sequel back on the GameCube. And actually, the Pikmin series is the last original IP that Miyamoto has actually made. Now, if you've played Pikmin 1 or 2, you'll be right at home. The main story, is kind of irrelevant, but just to sum it up, basically, you have 3 explorers named Af, Brittany, and Charlie. Their planet, Kopai, is running out of fruit. They set out in space to find more fruit for their people on their planet. And obviously, they crash land on a little planet called PNF 404, which is familiar if you've played Pikmin 1 or 2, because that's where Olimar and Louie had actually crash landed. So in a nutshell, Pikmin is actually Nintendo's real-time strategy game. Now, from the looks of it, it's really cute, it's really colorful, but there actually is quite a bit of strategy here, and it was very impressive the first time I played Pikmin for the GameCube. Obviously, all of the strategy and the gameplay, translates really well to the Wii U. It is a game that probably should have came out during the launch, and I think it's a real negative on Nintendo's part, because I've played through it now, and honestly, I don't see why there was a delay. A lot of stuff has changed, but all in all, it's a very familiar format, and it should have came out, with the console as a really good pack-in title or a reason to buy the Wii U. And if you guys follow our sudden death, Nintendo's been having trouble trying to sell the system. So in a nutshell, you have your explorers, and basically there's several major areas where you explore with your Pikmin characters. Now, if you've never played Pikmin 1 or 2, these are little, flower, vegetable little dudes that you pick up out of the ground, and essentially you control them to complete certain tasks. So Af, Brittany, and Charlie now have crash landed on this planet, and they need the help of the Pikmin to find fruit, find parts of their missing cosmic drive key. If you played the previous titles, you have the red Pikmin, which are fire resistant, and they're the strongest fighters. You have the yellow Pikmin, which now are electrical, so they can restart electrical circuits. And the blue Pikmin return now, they're the underwater breathing ones. And now you have rock Pikmin, which was kind of surprising. They're very similar to the purple guys back in Pikmin 2, except nothing can crush them and they can break glass. Kind of cool, they look like little pieces of diamond. And the other new Pikmin to the series is the flying Pikmin. These are little dudes, really weak in combat, but they can fly over water and pick up really hard to reach items. So the gameplay really goes that you land in an area, and there's certain parts of for example, of the Garden of Hope or Tropical Winds or Distant Tundra, which are large environments which you explore with your Pikmin. You'll encounter enemies, you take the enemies out, you'll grow new Pikmin, and you'll see fruit that you have to bring back to your ship, which plays into the Pikmin time structure. It's present again, so you can't really just dilly-dally and search the environments at your own pace. There's a timer that's always present. Usually the days last about 15 minutes, and within the day you really have to plan out what you have to do. I was very surprised to see that this is actually the first Wii U game where you can play with a Wii Remote and a nunchuck, as well as the gamepad. And the gamepad, or the cop pad as they say in the title, is actually really cool because it's a full interactive map of the level you're in, and you can plan out your day from the outset. Like when things get really going, you have 3 individual captains, Alf, Charlie, and Brittany, as well as over 100 Pikmin to control at the same time. It does become kind of overwhelming if you're not familiar with the series, but you can really get individual teams working on certain tasks Usually when you discover a new Pikmin, there's a boss made for them or a certain item that they can only reach. The other Pikmin can be harvesting, bodies of your fallen enemies. And all in all, Pikmin's a really, really cute looking game, but you have, large groups of Pikmin, basically mob rushing a harmless creature. You murder it, viciously, and then you bring its carcass back to your onion or your ship, and then it absorbs it, and you basically grow more Pikmin. So all in all, the game is pretty violent in its nature, but it's obviously colorful and cute to look at. And obviously you have a lot of new enemies and a lot of similar enemies. If you've seen the Bulborbs, those stupid frogs that squish your guys, a lot of the underground creatures, even some of the boss characters, that Snaggerit, that thing that comes out of the ground, and then you have that furry spider boss. I mean, they're back in this game. So when I played through this, you're looking at about 10 to 15 hours of gameplay. I was a little surprised to see that it's a fantastic game, but what took so long? I mean, it's been 10 years. This title is supposed to launch with the Wii U. It's August now. This is the best game that Miyamoto has claimed to ever made. It doesn't seem that different from the original Pikmin 1 and 2. And then on top of that, the Poison Pikmin and Purple Pikmin are not present in the single player game, which is a big disappointment for me. You can play them in the secondary modes, but they should have been there. It would have added even more complexity because, you'll have your 3 captains, you'll need to shoot one captain up to a higher level, throw some Pikmin at him, he can go do a task. That's as complex as usually the gameplay gets. And in the later stages, you are playing against time, some very difficult bosses, and managing your Pikmin, and then obviously deciding what to complete in a certain day. So the main gameplay mechanic has not changed. I think one of the biggest differences with Pikmin 3, on top of the Wii U gamepad implementation, you really should play with the Wii remote and the gamepad on your lap. The precision offered with the Wii remote is fantastic. So the gamepad's not even comparable. So definitely play with the Wii remote. You can be very specific. A cool thing about this Pikmin now is that when you throw your Pikmin at enemies, we can target certain body parts, and it actually affects the way they react. Rock Pikmin stun enemies really quickly. They're heavy, so you chuck them on the small enemies, it stuns them. A lot of enemies will die before they can even attack if you have enough rock Pikmin. So I think the biggest difference, aside from the gameplay, is actually the visuals. It is a very, very pretty Wii U game. In fact, I only have a handful of Wii U titles. This is the best one by far. It's colorful, the environments are varied, there's a lot of little details. It runs really smoothly. Sometimes things get kind of crazy when there's a lot of Pikmin and a lot of stuff happening on the screen. And the boss characters are fantastic. I think, aside from the repeated enemies and some of the repeated bosses, the new ones really do test your knowledge of the game, your use of the Pikmin, and obviously managing everything in a really, really hectic environment. Looking at it from a visual perspective, it's definitely up there, one of the best looking Wii U titles. And the sound is another thing. It's really, really subtle. Obviously you have the timer that freaks out when you have a minute left, but a lot of the stuff is similar. I did play through Pikmin 2 for a little bit prior to this game just to refresh my memory, and it doesn't seem like it changed a lot. Like, the characters still speak gibberish, which is really stupid, I think. The little gibberish they speak between every level and the summary, it just gets very grating at the end. That's one thing, but the Pikmin sound the same. A lot of the enemies and sound effects are very similar. So, like I said originally, it doesn't seem like that much has changed. Pikmin 3 is quite similar to Pikmin 2 in its structure. This one's a bit more open-ended because now, on top of the time factor, you can keep going through the game as long as you have fruit, which gets converted to liquid, and you consume that at the end of every day. A couple other changes that came to this Pikmin is multiplayer. Now, I was very disappointed that there was no online component. It is local multiplayer, and it's really fun. You have straight up battle mode where you're competing for fruit and enemies and so on, and there's a bingo game where basically you have to match up the fruit showing up on the card, and obviously the person who spells bingo wins. So it's fun. It should have been online, and I think the reason Nintendo gave was they didn't want to ruin the immersive experience. I think is nonsense. This should have been an online game. You have a secondary mission mode, which kind of gives you additional gameplay, additional tasks, and the Poison and the Purple Pikmin take place here. Should have been in the main gameplay, but what are you going to do? And then you have a really cool photo mode, which as you're using your Wii U gamepad or cop pad, you can see a summary of all the fruit you found and then take pictures from the Pikmin's perspective. So some of the boss fights is pretty impressive, and the quality of the visuals are really good and all. So I think Pikmin 3 really is classic Nintendo gameplay. It's a really good use of the gamepad, which frankly, as if you're in my boat or like a lot of us, you haven't been using it much, unfortunately. I think Miyamoto has done a great job here. Nintendo does have a solid game. They played it a little too safe, and if you actually load up the game, there's a version number on the bottom of the title screen, so that implies that updates, maybe some DLC, maybe some additional story because it does end kind of abruptly, and obviously you'll see some familiar characters throughout the gameplay. But it is a winner. I enjoyed it a lot. You should definitely pick up Pikmin 3 if you're new to the series or a veteran. It definitely is a reason to play your Wii U, and I think Nintendo's done a really good job here. Obviously, I don't think they did enough to push it over the edge. It's still a pretty solid effort, so good stuff from their part.
Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to gameaccess.ca for providing the game. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. We'll see you next time on The Gamer Nerds.